All right, we are going to take a look at Joshua Jefferson, one of the newest members of the Brooklyn Nets, was just drafted with the 28th overall pick in last night's draft. Honestly, I had planned for this film study to be published before the draft. I had all the film ready, but didn't end up that way. He was picked in the first round last night, and now it's more of a, this is what the Brooklyn Nets are getting in Joshua Jefferson as a basketball player, at least as he embarks on his NBA journey. So the evaluation is still a film study of Joshua Jefferson, but he has been drafted, and nevertheless, we will dive into his game. He's a very unique player because, on one hand, he's a bit undersized for a power forward. He's a playmaking power forward, but he is a power forward. 6'8", 245 pounds, about a 6'10" wingspan, so not really an outlier physically. And that shows in multiple ways, but as a pick and roll defender, for example, if he's playing drop coverage, you can see here against Syracuse, I was at this game in Las Vegas, and he's playing drop, and you can see him right here on the screen. He's not necessarily athletic or physical or long enough to kind of discourage the pull up and contain the ball handler while also containing the roll man and protecting the rim. You could obviously say that his teammate should have tagged the screener, made it more difficult on him, but you can see there just a pass over the top. It is something to look at the next level if he's going to be able to guard in the pick and roll. Not saying he is or he isn't able to, but I'm just saying you got to take a look there. So he's a little bit undersized for a power forward, but on another hand, he was probably bar none the best passing big man in the 2026 NBA draft. You can make a case for Cameron Boozer. There are other big men who pass the ball well, but I don't think anybody was quite on Joshua Jefferson's level. Some of the accuracy on his bounce passes were really special. You can see, look at this, not only angle and window, but timing on this bounce pass, pretty special in terms of, things we saw at the college level, especially from his position. He can see the court all over the floor. He can make passes before they actually are there, as we saw with his teammate diving, and also the high-low action right there. This is what kind of makes him special. It's his playmaking, it's his basketball IQ. They really ran. Iowa State had Tamin Lipsey as the point guard, but he was a bit undersized, and they kind of counterbalanced Tamin Lipsey's, running the point guard with Josh Jefferson being a point forward to initiate offense, kind of similar, to how Boris Diaw would do it back in the day. Though Jefferson did it with his back to the basket a lot more than Diaw did it. He would do it more facing up. So his passing skill set, so to speak, or is really, really deep. He can pass it with, on the short roll right there. He can make a play, dive into the rim, initiating. So he's a really good passer. So that's kind of just like a general overview of the two sides of Jefferson, right? On one hand, again, he's a little bit undersized, perhaps not the most athletic player. He recorded a 33-inch max vert at the combine. And on the other hand, he's really good court vision, a really good playmaker. We're going to quickly run through his stats before we get into all of the film and breaking down all aspects of his game. A senior, began his career at St. Mary's and was able to transfer to Iowa State, where he was an integral part of a team that had Final Four aspirations before he got injured in the first round against Tennessee State of the NCAA tournament. He played 31 minutes a game, averages 16 points, 7.5 rebounds, and just about 5 assists. 47% from the field, 35% from 3 on 3 attempts, and 70% from the free throw line on 6 attempts. So, the versatility shows in his statistics as well. In terms of his shot breakdown, most of his field goal attempts were at the rim. In fact, only 4 attempts of his entire 412 field goals were off the dribble jumpers, and only 21 of his field goal attempts were in isolation. And that speaks to his current inability to get into his shot in the mid-range, break down his man, play facing up, have a move or 2 moves or a counter move. He wasn't that type of player. He, again, would like to swing it, keep the ball moving, and either try to finish at the rim, despite not being the most athletic player, or try to shoot from 3. His catch and shoot numbers weren't bad. 36%, 100 attempts. Was 36 for 100, but again, not much isolation or off the dribble. And in fact, in terms of his jumpers, only 24 attempts were in the mid-range, so not much. So when he gets into this mid-range area, he's not like he's rising up for a jump shot. There's no one-legged fadeaway or any advanced moves. He comes in and he's trying to pass it out for the most part. You can see here he has a smaller player on him, the point guard from TCU, and he kind of just pounds the ball. Kind of a prime opportunity to have a scoring possession or a real attempt at the basket, but he doesn't do much with it. I think there's an advantage there he can maybe work with, but instead he just passes it out. And like he has the whole empty side, he pushes his teammate through. Granted, Anthony is there, number 7, providing help D, and 42 is here, but he's just always going to be looking to pass it. And again, you can see him operating with his back to the basket, pretty far out at the 3-point line. That's kind of how he was operating at Iowa State. I want to look real quick at one game he played against Houston. I thought it was one of his better games of the season when you watch the film. In 33 minutes, he had 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. And he was going against Cenac Jr. for most of the game. Granted, only a freshman, but a pretty good freshman nonetheless. I just want to look at more of his offensive essence outside of passing and playmaking. This is one of his better games, like I said. Nice footwork there. This is kind of, I think, best case scenario for him to capture, at least early in his career, would be to be a little bit more aggressive like he was in this game. You can see him attacking, even if he's finishing with an scoop underhand layup, he's at least attacking the rim. You can see the ball doesn't stick with him, which is good, but you see lowers his shoulders. We had a really good game against Cenac. We saw this clip earlier in this sequence, but I'm going to show it one more time. Decent touch there. So he shot 58% at the rim, but again, his height and lack of explosiveness and athleticism did show at times. So if he's really going to be attacking against the trees in the NBA, you can imagine that these defenders are going to be a lot larger than the ones at TCU. He doesn't really have a burst to go dunk it on them. He's not that type of player, right? He's trying to finish with a layup or a floater, and it's something that needs to be looked at. Trying to overcompensate there with a reverse layup that he can't finish. He makes that one, but a little scoop shot there. He's very dangerous in the short roll. I don't want to negate that proven ability of his, but not too much lift off the ground. Many small forwards, shooting guards are able to get a hand on him and block his shots, let alone big men. That being said, he does have a scoring package, like we said, 58% at the rim. He plays with a conviction to him, which is good. I don't think he gets flustered. I don't think he doesn't have confidence. He's going for the dunk there through traffic. But I do want to show that he can score in the interior, but not so much in the most athletic of ways. I don't think he's heavy-footed. I think he's actually light on his feet. But offensively, this is kind of what it looks like when he's not shooting threes and when he's not making plays for others, when he's trying to score himself. So again, he's only 5 for 24 from the mid-range area. So if he's going to struggle at times finishing against taller players, he's going to have to develop this aspect of his game. Nice fadeaway there, but that was few and far between this past season. You can see he's not looking to take these shots if he doesn't have to. It's most of the time late shot clock shots. That was 6 on the clock. This is more or less the same. Even less, 1 on the clock. I want to also take a look at some of his misses offensively that weren't because he wasn't athletic. Standard run-of-the-mill stuff. Didn't finish the play. Didn't have the softest touch on some possessions. I think in transition, not necessarily in terms of him as a passer, but as a scorer, he's going to look for openings, and I think he could be serviceable in this area. He can make plays here and there. Not necessarily the fastest player or the most explosive, as I've lamented several times by now. He did average 2.5 turnovers a game, and those turnovers were not because of bad decision making and bad passes. They were mostly because he would drive the ball into traffic, or he would try to make a play off the dribble. He would maybe try to be a little overzealous in those movements, and as a result would lose the ball or get stripped. Those were really the source of his turnovers. You can see him lose his handle kind of in these moments. Pounds the ball a little bit. So again, he shot 34.5% from 3 on 3.1 attempts. We already went over that most of them were in catch and shoot situations, not all, but most. So he can shoot it from 3. Not at an elite clip at this point. but it's not like he's devoid of the touch to shoot from three. He can make some. Shot 70% from the foul line on about 6 attempts per game. So defensively, I think the good of his defense came in his awareness and deflections. Had active hands and was aware, like I said. Also sliding his feet in a manageable, serviceable job. Sometimes he got beat, sometimes he got bullied, other times he stayed with his man and did a decent job. But the deflections were really where it was at defensively. And in terms of his rebounding, over 7 rebounds a game. It wasn't anything too sophisticated from what I saw, but you could see he plays with effort. Is gonna do everything he can to get the rebound. But with only a 6'10" wingspan, there's only but so much you could do, and not the most vertical leap. You can use your physicality and your smarts to get over 7 rebounds a game, which he did. Good awareness to get the steal over Krivas. Flip side of that defensively is, can he slide his feet well enough when he has to guard on the perimeter? You can see there. Over here, he tries to stick with his man, gets called for a foul. So can he guard in space? Can he guard one-on-one? If he maybe changes his body composition a little bit, would that help him be more agile on his feet? I'm just kind of thinking out loud, not sure I have the answer to those questions, but are bigs who could just drive and lower their shoulder and have a height advantage over him? Are they going to have success just like this gentleman from BYU did, driving into him, lowering the shoulder, and shooting over him? All right, and back to Jefferson's passing. I want to close off with that. It's the best part of his game. It showcases the true connectivity that he plays with. It says a connective DNA as a basketball player. At the risk of sounding corny, but he really did get guys the ball in the spots that they needed it to be in, whether it was High Z at the 3-point line or Buchanan diving, really making the game easier for them because they didn't have to do anything out of their skill set or comfort zone. He would just get them the ball in a place where they're relatively open and just make a nice pass time and time and time again. So that's kind of it for my evaluation of Joshua Jefferson. I should mention he was a consensus second-team All-American at the college level. He obviously has the passing chops and the vision and the court sense and the basketball IQ and the connectivity to be someone that his teammates would like to play with, because he's gonna hopefully make the game easier for them. But you want to see, can he round out his offensive game, and can he find a way to contribute inside more offensively despite being a little bit undersized, and defensively, can he stay in front of his man? So you got to just see where he rounds out his game and where he goes from here. But definitely a smart basketball player and someone who can see the court well. So it'll be interesting to track his development as he begins his career in the NBA.